Ladies and gentlemen in life, our greatest tool for success is not our resources, education, or even our hard work, it's our imagination. Every achievement, every transformation begins with the way we see ourselves and the world around us. Our imagination holds the key to creating the life we desire. Let's explore 7 powerful principles that will help us tap into this inner power and make our dreams a reality. Imagination is often thought of as a form of escapism, but in truth it is the foundation of all personal and professional success. What we picture in our minds has a direct impact on the reality we create, whether we realize it or not. This concept can be broken down into a few key educational principles to understand why imagination is so powerful. When you imagine a scenario vividly, your brain activates the same neural pathways as if the event were actually happening. Neuroscience shows that the brain treats imagined experiences almost identically to real ones. This is why athletes use visualization techniques to improve performance. By imagining themselves succeeding, they prime their minds and bodies to perform at a higher level in real life. Your perception of yourself and your abilities is shaped by your imagination. If you constantly visualize yourself as confident, capable, and successful, your brain begins to align with that identity. This influences your behaviors and decisions. For instance, if you imagine yourself excelling in a presentation, you're more likely to approach it with confidence and deliver a stronger performance. Conversely, if you imagine failure or fear, those thoughts can sabotage your efforts. Our beliefs about what is possible are often shaped by the images we consistently hold in our minds. If you consistently imagine obstacles, your brain will expect and even seek out challenges that align with those images. But if you imagine success and achievement, your mind begins to expect and seek out opportunities that match those images. Essentially, the way you use your imagination determines your beliefs about your future. The emotions you feel are often a product of your thoughts and what you imagine. If you visualize success, joy, and fulfillment, you begin to feel those emotions in the present. This creates a positive feedback loop where positive feelings lead to productive actions, which in turn lead to positive results. Conversely, negative or limiting imagination can generate feelings of fear or inadequacy, which inhibit action. The power of imagination also lies in its ability to solve problems creatively. When you encounter challenges, the ability to imagine potential solutions allows you to think beyond your current circumstances. This is why many breakthroughs, both in science and in personal growth, often come from someone who first envisioned an unconventional solution in their mind. If we study the lives of great leaders, inventors, and innovators, one common trait stands out: they had the ability to see things that others couldn't. Whether it was Steve Jobs envisioning the iPhone before it existed, or Nelson Mandela imagining a united South Africa despite the reality of apartheid, their imagination shaped their actions and eventually reshaped the world around them. This illustrates how imagination is not just a passive activity, but an active force that can drive tangible change. In an educational or practical context, applying this principle means integrating imagination into daily life. Whether it's through goal setting, visualization exercises, or simply being mindful of your self-talk, the key is to consciously use your imagination to support the reality you want to create. Practice imagining your goals in vivid detail, including the emotions, sights, and sounds associated with achieving them. Over time, this practice will start to shape your behaviors and choices in alignment with that vision. In summary, imagination is not a mere daydream, but an essential tool that shapes the reality you live in. By consciously guiding your imagination, you can influence your thoughts, actions, and ultimately the outcomes in your life. The concept of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is based on the idea that to bring your desires into reality, you must emotionally live in the end state, as if your wish has already been granted. This is not just about thinking positively, but about aligning your emotions, thoughts, and behaviors with the outcome you desire, making it a core principle in manifestation and personal development. Let's break this down into educational elements that explain why and how it works. Emotions are a powerful force that influence our actions, decisions, and even our subconscious mind. Neuroscience shows that when we attach strong emotions to a thought or mental image, the brain becomes more likely to encode it deeply. This is why assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is so critical. By feeling as if your goal is already achieved, you create a strong emotional bond with that outcome, embedding it into your subconscious mind. The subconscious, in turn, begins to influence your conscious decisions, behaviors, and even the circumstances you attract. In psychology, the law of attraction suggests that like attracts like. This means that the energy or vibration you emit through your thoughts and emotions will attract similar energies in the external world. If you assume the emotional state of success or fulfillment now, you're more likely to attract experiences that match those feelings. For example, if you feel abundant and act accordingly, you'll notice more opportunities for financial success or personal growth. The key is to cultivate those feelings internally before they manifest externally. Visualization by itself is powerful, but pairing it with emotion supercharges its effectiveness. Cognitive research indicates that mental rehearsal with strong emotional engagement creates lasting neural pathways that help guide future behavior. When you visualize your goal, don't just see it, feel it. What would it be like to have already achieved that goal? How would you feel in that moment? By engaging your emotions, you bring a greater sense of reality and possibility to your visualization practice. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your behavior naturally starts to align with that emotional state. For instance, if you desire to be a successful entrepreneur and you mentally and emotionally step into that role, you'll start to take actions that successful entrepreneurs take. Your body language, decision-making, and approach to challenges will reflect someone who is already successful. This shift in behavior accelerates the process of bringing your desired outcome into reality. There's a psychological mechanism at play known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you have already achieved your goal, you'll act in ways that confirm that belief, which in turn leads to real-world success. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you're engaging in this principle, acting from a place of certainty and confidence, which increases the likelihood of your desired outcome. Your brain seeks to align your actions with the emotional state you've assumed, creating positive feedback loops that reinforce your success. One of the biggest barriers to achieving a goal is doubt or resistance. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you bypass this resistance by mentally placing yourself in a state of accomplishment. Doubts often arise from focusing on how things are currently, but by shifting your focus to how things will be and feeling as if they already are, you minimize mental friction. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges, but it does mean framing them from a perspective of success, which makes them feel less daunting. In practice, assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled can be incorporated into daily routines. Here are some techniques. Meditation and visualization. Take time each day to meditate and visualize your goal, vividly imagining not just the outcome, but the emotions associated with it. Feel the excitement, relief, or pride as though the goal has been realized. Affirmations. Use affirmations that reinforce the feeling of already having what you desire. For example, instead of saying, "I will be successful," say, "I am successful and thriving." Gratitude. Actively express gratitude for your future success as if it's already here. Gratitude helps align your emotional state with the fulfillment of your desire. Embodied action. Throughout the day, ask yourself, how would I act if my wish were already fulfilled? Let this guide your decisions, conversations, and interactions. By consistently practicing these techniques, you train your mind and emotions to stay aligned with your desired outcome, making it easier for that outcome to manifest in your life. The principle of persisting in your assumptions is about maintaining a steadfast belief in your desired outcome, regardless of external circumstances or temporary setbacks. This persistence is crucial because our thoughts and beliefs shape our reality, and holding on to an assumption long enough allows it to manifest. Here's how this concept works in a practical and educational context. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated thoughts and behaviors. When you persist in a certain assumption, you are effectively training your brain to accept that assumption as a reality. The more you focus on and repeat a particular belief, the stronger the neural connections related to that belief become. Over time, this repeated mental practice solidifies the assumption in your subconscious mind, making it easier for your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors to align with it. This is similar to how habits are formed. The more you repeat something, the more ingrained it becomes. When you begin to persist in a new assumption, especially one that contradicts your current reality, you may experience cognitive dissonance, an uncomfortable mental conflict between your new belief and your existing circumstances. This discomfort often leads people to give up on their new assumptions too soon. However, cognitive dissonance can be overcome through persistence. By repeatedly reinforcing your desired belief and consciously ignoring contradicting evidence, your mind will eventually reconcile the new assumption with your outer world. The key is not to let temporary discomfort derail your progress. Where your attention goes, energy flows. Persisting in your assumptions means consciously directing your focus toward your desired outcome, rather than being distracted by what isn't working or what hasn't manifested yet. This principle is supported by research in cognitive psychology, which shows that what we focus on expands in our perception. By continually focusing on your assumption as true, you strengthen its presence in your mind and increase the likelihood of noticing opportunities and resources aligned with it. In essence, you're training your mind to filter out distractions and keep your goal in sight. Persistence is especially important when faced with challenges or setbacks. Often external circumstances will appear to contradict the assumption you are trying to hold, which can lead to frustration or doubt. However, understanding that setbacks are a natural part of any growth process can help you stay committed to your assumption. Research on resilience shows that people who bounce back from adversity tend to focus on long-term outcomes rather than getting discouraged by short-term difficulties. By continuing to hold your desired assumption through adversity, you maintain the mental and emotional resilience needed to push through challenges. The concept of psychological priming explains how our assumptions can affect our perceptions and behaviors. When you persist in an assumption such as believing you are successful or deserving of a specific outcome, you prime your brain to notice evidence that supports that belief. This can lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy, where your actions, inspired by your assumption, create situations that validate your belief. For example, if you persistently assume you are confident in social situations, over time, you'll behave in ways that are more socially confident, which will in turn lead others to perceive you that way. The subconscious mind is deeply influenced by repetition and consistency. Persisting in your assumption essentially programs your subconscious to accept the new belief as fact. Once the subconscious mind adopts this belief, it begins to work on autopilot to bring that assumption into reality. This is why consistency is key. Just like learning a new skill or mastering a subject, the more consistently you practice it, the more it becomes ingrained. Even small, daily mental affirmations or visualizations can have a powerful cumulative effect over time. There are several methods you can use to persist in your assumptions, even when external circumstances challenge your belief. Affirmations. Regularly repeating affirmations that align with your desired assumption helps to reinforce that belief. For example, if your assumption is that you are financially successful, you might repeat, "I am financially abundant," multiple times a day, even if your bank account doesn't yet reflect that reality. Visualization. Daily visualization of your assumption as already fulfilled strengthens your belief. When you vividly imagine yourself living your desired reality, you train your brain to accept it as true, making it easier to persist. Mental rehearsal. Actively rehearse scenarios in your mind where your assumption is true. If your goal is to be promoted, imagine yourself performing the role with confidence and receiving positive feedback. This mental rehearsal helps solidify the belief in your mind. Ignore contrary evidence. When faced with evidence that contradicts your assumption, practice disregarding it. While this may feel counterintuitive, understand that temporary circumstances don't define your future. By focusing solely on your desired outcome, you shift your attention away from what you don't want and reinforce what you do want. In summary, persisting in your assumptions requires mental discipline, emotional resilience, and consistent practice. By doing so, you align your thoughts and actions with your desired outcome, programming your subconscious mind to support your goals and helping you overcome obstacles along the way. The idea that inner conversations shape your destiny is rooted in the understanding that our internal dialogue, what we say to ourselves in our minds, directly influences our emotions, beliefs, actions, and ultimately the life we create. These inner conversations, whether positive or negative, are constantly shaping the way we see the world and ourselves. Let's explore this concept through educational insights. In cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT), self-talk is a critical factor in shaping our mental health and behavior. CBT teaches that our thoughts, including inner conversations, create our emotions, which in turn influence our actions. For example, if your inner conversation is filled with thoughts of self-doubt like, "I'm not good enough," it will create feelings of inadequacy, which may lead to self-sabotaging behavior. On the other hand, positive self-talk such as, "I can handle this challenge," generates confidence and leads to more proactive, success-oriented actions. This psychological approach demonstrates how powerful inner conversations can be in directing our life's path. The reticular activating system (RAS) is a network in the brain that acts as a filter, determining which information gets noticed and which gets ignored. It is heavily influenced by what we think and say to ourselves internally. If your inner conversation constantly revolves around success, opportunities, and positive outcomes, your RAS will focus on finding evidence and experiences that match those expectations. Conversely, negative self-talk can prime the RAS to highlight obstacles, problems, and failures. This brain mechanism illustrates how inner conversations can shape our focus and, by extension, our reality. Our inner conversations also play a pivotal role in forming our self-concept, which is the way we perceive and define ourselves. Over time, the things we repeatedly say to ourselves become embedded in our identity. For example, if your inner dialogue consistently reinforces that you are a confident, capable person, you begin to adopt that identity. This impacts how you interact with others, the decisions you make, and the risks you take. On the contrary, negative self-talk, such as calling yourself a failure, can create a limiting self-concept that keeps you from reaching your full potential. Essentially, your inner conversations contribute to shaping who you believe you are, and that belief drives your destiny. Emotions are often triggered by our inner dialogue. The way you talk to yourself in various situations has a direct effect on how you feel. For instance, if after a difficult meeting you tell yourself, "That went terribly, and now everyone thinks I'm incompetent," you are likely to feel anxious, ashamed, or upset. However, if your inner conversation is more self-compassionate, such as, "It wasn't perfect, but I handled it well and learned something useful," you will feel more positive and motivated. This emotional impact of inner conversations demonstrates that by changing the way you talk to yourself, you can change your emotional state, which influences your actions and outcomes. Inner conversations don't just affect how we feel, they also guide our behavior. What you repeatedly say to yourself mentally can determine whether you take action, avoid a situation, or pursue an opportunity. For example, if you're faced with a challenging goal and your inner dialogue is filled with thoughts like, "I can't do this, it's too hard," you may be less likely to take the necessary steps to achieve the goal. Conversely, if your inner conversation is, "I can handle this step by step, and I've succeeded in hard things before," you are more likely to persist and take action, regardless of difficulty. Over time, these patterns of behavior shaped by inner conversations determine the trajectory of your life. Neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, offers strategies for changing inner conversations to produce more desirable outcomes. One key NLP technique is reframing, where you consciously shift negative inner dialogue to a more empowering perspective. For instance, instead of saying, "I'll never be good enough for this job," you can reframe it to, "I'm continually learning, and every challenge makes me better." Reframing allows you to take control of your internal dialogue, changing negative thought patterns into productive ones that foster growth and resilience. This technique shows that inner conversations are not fixed and can be reshaped with conscious effort. To leverage the power of inner conversations in shaping your destiny, you can practice several techniques to ensure your self-talk is constructive. Mindfulness and self-awareness, becoming aware of your inner conversations, is the first step in changing them. Practice mindfulness by observing your thoughts without judgment. Once you're aware of negative self-talk, you can challenge and reframe it. Positive affirmations. Regularly using positive affirmations helps to reprogram your inner dialogue. By repeating statements like "I am capable of achieving my goals" or "I am worthy of success," you can shift your mental focus toward positive outcomes. Journaling, writing down your inner thoughts, allows you to analyze and reshape them. When you notice negative patterns, use journaling to rewrite them in a positive, empowering way. Inner conversation rehearsal. Just as athletes rehearse physical movements, you can rehearse more constructive inner conversations. Spend time visualizing yourself in challenging situations, practicing positive, supportive inner dialogue as you navigate those challenges. In summary, our inner conversations are a powerful, often overlooked force that shape our emotions, beliefs, behaviors, and ultimately our destiny. By becoming aware of and actively reshaping your inner dialogue, you can direct your life toward the outcomes you desire.